Thanks, yes. Well, after all the back and forth, the payroll tax cut plan has been passed by the House and Senate. Now it awaits the President's signature.
So what's in this thing, and exactly how does it get paid for? Republican Congressman Bilbray joins us live here to explain. Brian, thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Very well. It's kind of interesting because when it comes down to the extension of the unemployment insurance, that is being paid for by no pay raises to federal employees. Any new federal employee, be they outside the military, be anything from a congressman all the way down to somebody sweeping the streets. We're going to go in with new retirement programs, changing the whole way that the federal government is reimbursing its employees. The tax holiday, that's not being paid for, and that's sort of an interesting deal. Let me say one thing. The President and Congress and the senators can all kind of pat ourselves on the back and try to take credit for this. This is $10 billion at a time that San Diegans, 1 out of 10 San Diegans out. That's $10 billion when we have over $1 trillion of American money overseas that we won't change the rules to come back. And so, again, this is one of those problems where we're doing what we can, but anybody who claims that this is enough really doesn't understand.
Does this hasten the dire situation for Social Security?
It raises a big one on that, and my frustration is that I think that if we want to do these type of things, then we ought to make some tough decisions. And I'll tell you, I'll get in trouble by saying everybody's talking about we need to tax the wealthy more. My argument is, why are we giving so much to them? Why are we talking about somebody who is making $1 million getting Social Security and Medicare? I'm sorry. There was a point where you got to make the tough decisions. Look at your friends and say, we can't afford certain things. And one of the things we can't afford to continue to do is promise everybody everything from Washington, D.C. We've got to start making some priority decisions. And that's where I think that Washington has to wait.
But nobody wants to do that because the election cycle is 365 days a year now. Somebody is always running for re-election, whether it be Congress, the Senate, the House, the Senate, or the President. On a local level, the election cycle never stops now.
And the trouble is, look, we go off to Washington, you forget, you didn't go there for the weather. All I got to say is, look, as a San Diegan, if I'm not going to go get something done, that's why trying to work with people across the aisle to get things done is what's important to me. I mean, we're working with Mr. Farr from up north about getting our doctors fair share. Working across the aisle is the only way you get things done. But the problem is you got too many people in Congress and in the White House that think it's a debating club. And I'm sorry, this is a frustration that the American people are looking at. We've got a real credibility threat here. The budget is a big problem. The economy is a huge problem. But the credibility gap, the trust in our institutions in Washington, and I think the one way we can get more trust, quit trying to promise everybody everything and quit trying to do it all. Learn to focus on what only the Washington can do.
Let's talk about something else that's a big problem right now going across the country is the gas prices. $3.85 is the national average, well over $4 here in San Diego. The transportation reauthorization bill is something that people are talking about right now, which would allow offshore drilling off the Southern California coast. Your thoughts on this, what this could mean, and does it even have a chance of passing?
Well, no, I think the Senate hasn't taken up anything. They haven't taken up a budget in 1,000 days. They wouldn't even consider the president's budget last year. No, but the offshore oil issue is where I kind of drew the line, because I think we all agree that within 20 miles, the local communities ought to have some say in that item. Now, look, San Diegans, we're not under a real threat because we have the military installations. You can't have offshore oil with all our military, so we're kind of protected. But there's still this issue that there should be an opt-out, and I voted against it based on that. At the same time, we ought to be getting the president to allow a pipeline to come in from Canada to bring oil, over 1 million gallons of oil, into this country to be able to create that. But right now, the only thing that's being held up is not the environmental permits for the whole pipeline, but just the 5 yards that crosses the border. And the presidents can sign that off, just like they did the new port of entry at the airport at Rodriguez down Otay. Just sign it off, but won't, because all the political pressure of saying we don't trust the way the Canadians are creating their oil. We don't trust the Canadians to take care of the environment. We need to start saying yes more in Washington and not find excuses to say no all the time. But I'll tell you, one thing that's frustrating is watch this offshore oil, and it was driven by a thing called scoring. And our scoring, the way we count how much something costs and how much we make, is so messed up in Washington that you can't even say we'll allow the local communities to have within 20 miles of the border, of the coastline, and the feds will take care of the rest.
All right, Congressman Brian Bilbray, it's always great to see you. We need to have you back in more often because there is so much to talk about. So hopefully we'll see you again here very soon.
Absolutely. I enjoy coming back. Believe me, February in D.C. is not any place any sane person wants to be.
No, I was talking to friends back there yesterday, and they would rather be here.
Thank you
All right.
very much.
Thank you,
Brian
sir.
Baines. All right, still ahead on